Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maya. So again, we're going for the wrap up in TBR video. I'm really enjoying doing this and I'm kind of liking the fact that I'm just doing it. I'm liking that, you know, I'm just finding it really good. You might have noticed I look a little bit different. That's because you are correct. So I've had my hair chopped off to my shoulders. I've had my other nostril pierced, which you probably haven't noticed, but you have now. I now have a hand tattoo. I have two new tattoos here, and then I have two new tattoos here. I'm evolving, guys. I am evolving. So this month I've actually read a decent amount of books. I kind of thought I would do because I had a week in Iceland and then I had half a week off, which is the end of March, the start of April. So I had a lot of time to read. So I did read 11 books, which my average is like 9. So it's been a decent book month, and I have read 7 physical books, and the rest were either on Kindle or Audible. But before I get into that, again, I want to go get a drink. I'm kind of fancying a hot drink. I don't know, coffee, tea. I'll got a couple of seconds while I go downstairs to decide that. But guys, why don't you get a drink as well? And then we'll get into it. So I love this mug, I absolutely love it, but the issue is because it's got a hot drink in it and there's no handle, like I can't really hold it for long. So I mean, it's not a massive issue, I can't drink it when it's hot, but like it burns and it's cute and I love it, but it burns. So maybe it's more like a summer drink with ice, like an ice latte kind of thing, because I can't drink it for like a while now, so I didn't think that one through. So yes, as I was saying earlier, I have read 11 books this month. Read meaning as like read physical, read on Kindle and listened on Audible. I have hit quite a lot of achievements with this pile and I'm really happy with that because there's some books that I've been holding off for ages and there's some books that I have been wanting to read for a very long time and I've just kind of never got to it, meaning the aspect of I just keep forgetting about them. But here we are, we've hit a couple of achievements, we can go through them. Snaps from Maya. So I'm going to try and do this in order. I have gone on Goodreads and I've got them all up in front of me and I've gone through the ones that I've rated first and then all the way to my most recent ones. So I'm hoping they're in order, but if not, what are you going to do? So the first book I read actually wasn't a physical book and I'm so sorry. I read this on Kindle and I haven't collected, well I did originally collect these books, the Shatter Me books, but I don't like the eyeball cover. I don't like them. I did start collecting them at first and then I was just a bit like, ooh. And then the special edition from Waterstones that you get, I still not massive a fan of them. So they've got a place in my heart and that's where they always will be, but they'll never have a place in my bookshelves. The first book I read was The Watch Me, which is a Shatter Me kind of like second story. It's in the same world, it continues with the same people, but it's not the main people of the book. The main person is James, which is Aaron Warner's younger brother, and I really enjoyed this one. It was nice to get back into the world. It was nice to see the people. It was nice to see how they ended up, and it was nice to see how the world had developed since the Shatter Me series finished, because there was like 8 books or something in that series. Yes, they're all small, but there's still 8 books in that series. But I do think with the Shatter Me series is that it should have finished a couple of books previously, because I just feel like sometimes it was just a bit too much my liking. But now I finished it, loved it. Then I wasn't aware that they're continuing like a subplot in the same series, like a separate series. I have no idea what it's called. I have no idea what it's called. But yeah, so it's the Shatter Me, the New Republic, and yeah, called Watch Me, and I rated this 3-star. I did enjoy it, being back in the world. It was really nice seeing James, especially the Kenji, because I love Kenji, but I feel like it was just missing some stuff. It didn't have the same magic as Shatter Me, but it also was nice seeing how like James had developed, because obviously in the Shatter Me series he was like a wee baby. He was young, he didn't come into his powers or anything, so you saw him and he was mentioned often, but he wasn't one of the main characters. He was like one of those characters where you got involved with because obviously he was a young child, but now he's an adult, now he's a grown-ass man, and it was just nice seeing how he'd come to that. But yeah, it was an okay book. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a 4-star, 5-star. It just didn't give me those feelings, but I think I was just really happy being back in that book. So I also think that Shatter Me is more of a young adult book, and I love young adult books, don't get me wrong, but I am more leaning towards the age 30 rather than 20. So I think if I read this at an earlier age I would have loved it, and it could have been a 5-star, 6-star series, but I'm too old. I don't like saying that. So I enjoyed it, I loved it. I hate the covers, never liked the covers, which is a shame because I would have collected all these books. But anyway, that's the first book I read, and I read that on the 4th of March, so a good start to March. Then the second book I read, we was in Iceland then, but I read, and I love this book so much. I believe this is my first 5-star book of the year. And I only think it really got the 5-star because of where I was and what I was listening to and what I was seeing, and it was very medieval and very war, and this kind of like matched this book perfectly. I'm not going to complain because possibly if I was in the UK reading this I would have probably rated it 4-star, but because of where I was, yeah, I rated it 5-star. And I said I read this book while travelling on excursions in Iceland, and I have to say, being in the original Viking home and reading about brutal war and political issues made the whole experience surreal, and I do think that is what helped, but it also helps that it's a gorgeous edition. Right, so look at this, right, gorgeous. It gives Shrek. I mean, I love Shrek. I love a good Shrek movie, especially the intro to the first one. Do you know when he's like getting a shower? Love it. So yeah, I adored the crap out of this book, and the edition is beautiful, and the insides just give Shrek so much. Oh, do you know what I mean though? It like really does shout Shrek. So yeah, this was a story about Princess Clea is obviously a princess, and she gets brought up with obviously the etiquette of being a princess, like dresses and how to like walk into a room, and basically how to dominate like a tea party, how to be good at what the speeches, how to sit down properly, how to walk in heels. As a princess, that is what you get brought up with. That is what you don't really get a choice being a princess. And she is like betrothed to, it's not like 100% guaranteed, but they've been brought up together, and there's like a little bit of love interest there with, what's his name, Prince Domhnall. I just called him Dommel because Domhnall, I don't think that's right, so I called him Dommel. And Prince Dommel is basically, I liked him at first, but I didn't like him. I didn't dislike him. I just thought, go, you can do better. So basically he said to her, you're not tough enough. I want like a warrior queen. We're not going to get married. We're not engaged. You're too weak. And she was like, excuse me, absolutely not. So there's this like university thing that they go to, and it's the people who are like really sought after in relations to war, action, swords, when they've got like a talent in the murder aspect. And Prince Dommel goes there, and I mean he's been wanting to go there for a really long time, and he signed up to that, and that's how he's going to get stronger. That's how he then becomes engaged to somebody else there, because she's more of a warrior princess. And our Clea signs up, and she's like, what's going on? And then you see her like develop from being like this weakling, actual weakling, to like the best fighter ever. And it was just so nice seeing her progress in that aspect, because she never said, well, she never thought, no, I can't do this. She was like, I can do this, I can get better, I'm going to continue. I'm going to wake up at crack of dawn for everyone else's, and I'm going to train with a sword, I'm going to get better. And it's really nice watching the underdog get better. And the love interest, what is it called, Ronan, I really liked him. It was so good. The twists in here are brutal, like it was like to the heart, twists, like the betrayal is like crazy, like people who you thought were really close to you your whole life kind of betrayed you. It was so good. There was nothing wrong with this book, and I really do recommend if you can get a hold of this special edition, because she is just gorgeous. First 5-star read of the year. It's March, well for you it's April, but it's March when I read this, and I'm just a little bit sad that it's the only book I've read that's a 5-star. I digress. Really good, recommend it, have a look. Then the next book I read was Legend Born from the Legend Born cycle, and this book, I mean, I loved it in some aspects, but other aspects I was just insanely bored. There's a lot of dialogue in this book, there was a lot of background history, there was a lot of like racial abuse, so obviously look into that. I don't want anyone to get triggered by it, but it's good. It is good. It's a twist on like King Arthur, so you go into the aspects and more of the terminology of what it's like with like the brothers and the people on the table and everything, and then there is monsters. So basically what happens is there's this secret like society which is like King Arthur and obviously his table, and you have the mundanes like you and me, and the people who are in this like secret society can see demons, can see like things twisted in the background, can see bad stuff, can see demons, and they have to obviously kind of like fight. They are obviously King Arthur and his descendants, and they have to fight all the baddies without anybody else, like the mundane, noticing. They are protecting the realm, and there's all these like slits and things where all these demons come out of, and then once you kill that demon that slit closes, but it's like a constant battle. And to top it all off, they're all in school, so they are trying to be really high warriors, defeating all these creatures while also trying to get like the top grade in the school without falling back. And some people, obviously their family isn't aware that they are in this secret society, so there's a lot of difficulties in that aspect. The main girl, Brie, she's from a coloured family, and everyone in this school isn't. So that's obviously one difficulty that she comes across. The second difficulty is nobody understands what she's gone through in the past, obviously what her grandparents have gone in the past as well with slavery, so that also gets mentioned. But the main girl, she has different abilities that she has to come into that she's not aware of. This, she wasn't from the secret society family like her parents, unaware, not sure. But she also goes through, and this is right at the start of the book, so it's not a spoiler, one of her parents dies. So again, there's trauma there. But once you go through it all, and it's difficult to read, but it is a good story. It's really good to read. I read it at 3-star. I did find it a bit uncomfortable in some aspects. It was a little bit slow, but that wasn't the main issue. The main issue was, you know when a character's overpowered and there's a little bit too much? Well, this was some of the characters in this book, and it was just too much for me. Like, yes, give them power, yes, give them the top power, but don't give them power on top of power on top of power. It makes it like, I was going to say unrealistic. I mean, I know it's unrealistic because obviously but it makes it unrealistic. I am going to continue the series. I did enjoy it, but go into that knowing there's overpower in here. Go into that knowing that it's the expectation of this book is just like through the roof. But it is a good read. I feel like that wasn't helpful for you guys. The next book is like a spanner in the works, completely different. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is the book that I've been wanting to read for decades, and I've had this for years, and I really like the edition of it. I just find it just beautiful. I've never seen a classic book like this, and if anyone knows where I can get more of the classical books like this, holler. I want some more of them. I really wanted to start collecting these. I think I got this from like TK Maxx at Home Sense for like £2 or £3 years ago, and I've yet to see any more special editions in the same font as this. It was a slow book. I listened to this, and on a daily when I went for my hour walk on my lunch break, I was listening to this book, and there were some parts where I was just like, oh my god, that was intense, it was insane, it was surreal. And then there was other plots, like parts of the book, where I was just walking around for an hour being like, that was a waste of an hour. I understand why people like this because it's got a lot of hidden meanings behind it, but there's no story plot whatsoever. Like, it's just someone who's very vain. I like the aspect of it where in the painting that was made in this book, because basically the whole plot of this book is Dorian Gray gets a picture painted of him, And then the painter's like, oh, I'm going to put my gallery. And Dorian Gray's like, no, like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It's an amazing picture, by the way. Like, the painting is beautiful. Dorian Gray's like, absolutely not. We're going to hide it. I'm going to put it in my house. No one's going to see this. I want it. And the painter's a little bit like, well, I don't really want to do that. It's the best work I've ever done. And Dorian Gray's like, no, honey, I'm keeping it. It's mine to keep. The painter's like, all right, okay, that's fine. Dorian Gray actually hides it because he is embarrassed of what happened. So the plot of the story is, I'm not going to give off all the spoilers because there is some parts where you read it and you're just like, what? Is where whoever Dorian Gray turns into, that's what the painting looks like. Say for example, if he comes into like a really sleazy dude, the painting will turn sleazy. The painting will turn like a really pervy painting, while Dorian Gray stays the same as the age of how he looked when the painting was done. So they basically swap appearances, and then whatever Dorian Gray does in the life, that's what is portrayed in the painting. I think that's why he doesn't like it, because his true reflection is in this painting and he can't hide the fact of who he's become. It's not a massive book. It's not, but when you look at the words, oh, they're tiny. This page is packed with words, but I am glad I read it. I did at least want to read one classic this year, and I've obviously ticked it off in March, and I've also listened to another classic book as well, which I'll get into that next while on the classic vibe. But yeah, I'm happy I read this. A little bit waste of time, but also I enjoyed it. I had fun, but I was bored. It was a really weird experience. The next classic book is not in this order. I didn't listen to this next, but it was Animal Farm, and again I listened to that on my lunch break. It's a tiny book, like 61 pages, is it? Absolutely not, it's 141 pages. That was just pure bull. This one was wild. So I didn't look into the synopsis before I started listening to this book. I just heard it's one of the books that you have to like read at least once in your life, and I'm glad I did, but it was wild. It was crazy. Basically it's about a farm, and the animals don't like how the farmer's looking after them, so the animals overtake the farm, kick out these humans, and look after themselves. They're like freedom. They get to eat as much as they want, they get to roam as much as they want, they get to do whatever they want, but basically their motto is anything with 2 legs is not a friend, anything with 4 legs is a friend. And it's really strange because you're reading it from the animal's perspective and the animal's point of views, but like they're writing on the board and you just think an animal with a hoof is writing on the board. This is just so crazy. But it's insanely political. Insanely political. Like, they've got these 10 commandments on the board that they write on the corkboard. A corkboard? They write on a board with a chalkboard. They write on a chalkboard with hooves, which is, one is just really crazy, and 2, some of them can speak really good English while others are like broken English, which again I don't understand why some can speak English and some can't. It was a fun ride. Anyway, these 10 commandments are basically like anything with 4 legs is a friend, anything with 2 is an enemy. You only get a portion of whatever a day. You have to get up and help around the farm. It's just like simple things that, you know, that's just common sense. That's just basic humanity for these animals, basically. That's what it all is about. And then as the story goes on, they'll look back at these 10 commandments and they're being like slightly tweaked. Like, one of them was no animal is better than the other. Or like all animals are on the same basis, or they're all equal. And then later in the book it goes like all animals are equal, but some animals are better than others. So like they're tweaked a bit, and you can see the etiquette of the farm and the political side of it all and the hierarchy changing from the book. But again, it's all animals and it's just kind of a bit crazy. It's just, there's a lot of betrayal going on there, there's a lot of murder, and it's a political book and I wasn't aware going into it, but I think it was nice. It was a nice surprise. And with it being only 141 pages, I do recommend either reading or listening to this. I actually really enjoyed listening to it. It was a fun time, especially when I was going for a walk. Like, there's nothing else you could do. You're going for a walk, you've got to walk around this route and come back to work. So I feel like it's a good time to listen to things that aren't entirely really fun, but you also want to get through it and you want to like at least tick it off. Rated it a 3-star, and I said it's funny how politically accurate. It's funny how politically accurate this is. Oh, this was what I said. It was a fun time. It was a fun time. The next book I read was from last month's TBR, which is Error Fire, which is the 3rd Throne of Glass book. And I missed this series, and I didn't realise how much I'd missed this series until I got back into this book. I'm so excited. I've got a little spoiler, a little bit of tidbit for the future. I've got the next book in the series for this month's TBR And at the moment I just want to read one book a month, so I'm not like fully immersed because I don't get bored of the story plot because these are big books, but I also really want to get to the end of it because I'm just having such a good time. Yeah, I won't go into too much depth about this one because obviously it's the third in a series, so you guys can't really know what's going on it obviously unless you've read this one. So basically Selena has gone to this island where she is meant to do something for a certain king, but she decides against doing that, and well, she does a little bit. She kind of goes to the plan a little bit. She detours, a little bit of a detour. And she has to train, she has to utilise some powers, she has to develop herself in general, and she kind of like has friends, has enemies, she kind of works through the trauma that she's gone through, and she opens up people, which is really nice to see, because eventually, I know you've gone through a lot, Selena, but at the same time you can't go through this by yourself, and it's nice seeing her develop the friends that she well and truly deserves. And at the end of the book, you see a change, you see that she has made a decision that will alter the fate of the earth at this point, and I know for a fact after reading this book, going on to the next ones, it's just going to kick off. So excited. I think I have 4 books left of the series. Let's have a look. So this is book 3. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 4 books left. I am halfway through because there is an Assassin's Blade, which is 0.5 book, which I've also read, so in that aspect, technically this is the 4th book in the series. Really enjoyed it. If you are wanting to get into Ceramic Glass, please do. I have been a little bit naughty because I haven't finished the series, but I've just got a Throne of Glass tattoo on my arm, which is permanent. We're now friends, but it's not something that's like insanely obvious. It's just a crown with some twinkles and sparkles and steam around it, but that's the Throne of Glass tattoo that I've got, so it made an impression on me, and I do recommend if you're wanting to go into another series, a deeper series, a thick book series, and you haven't already, this one. I do believe it is young adult as well, which is handy because sometimes smut's just a little bit too much smut, you know? And I didn't think I'd ever say that, but here we are. The next book I read was for my book club, which is The Lantern of Lost Memories, and this was a crazy ride. This was wild. It was honestly, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't something that I fully expected to enjoy as much as I do, but I do like Japanese fiction retellings, Japanese fiction stories. It's not a retelling, it's a story. I do enjoy these. It makes you reflect a certain thing of your life, and I don't know, I think it makes you look at the bigger picture than what you're currently living, and I like that they do that. It makes you reflect, and I just think it's really sweet. So the plot of this book is when you die, you go to this like halfway house, and you have to make a lantern with all your memories of what your life is. So say for example, if like I die, I'm 27, I will have 27 years through, therefore I will have to choose 27 pictures, 1 picture for each year that I've been alive, and each day, don't matter what it is, like each day you will have a picture that's been taken, and you have to sift through them all, and it's really sweet going through the people's lives to see like their accomplishments from when they were born all the way up until they've recently died. There's 3 stories in this. So the first one is like an older lady, and she is always around children. She's a primary school teacher, and she helps the lives of children, which is quite sweet seeing how she helps the future generation. It wasn't my favourite. It was a little bit too soppy for me. Then the second one is about a gangster, a Japanese gangster, mob boss, and it goes in the aspect of like how he became who he is a little bit, and then all the bad things he does. But for him, I'm more drawn to his story because he wanted to love people, he just had his heart in the wrong place. So like there was effort there, but it really wasn't done in the correct way. But I loved that, and there was characters in that story that I really adored, and it was just overall really sweet, and I did shed a tear in his story. Then the third one was about a girl who, read the trigger warnings, who they locked her out in the garden and basically like chained her up, and she had a dog bed to sleep in, and she was alive, but because she got beaten up so often, she'd like pass out so often and like pass out to death, and then she comes back alive, and then it's really super unrealistic, that story. There was a lot of things in that was quite sweet because the person who was in that halfway house kind of like taught her things to like continue in her normal everyday life, but it was just a little bit too far-fetched my liking. Overall, I did enjoy it. I read it 4 star. It was really sweet. The stories itself, not the best, but the concept of each story was actually really cute. And I did say, honestly, I love the mouse. He's a character in the Mob Bosses story and he's just really bloody sweet. Overall, really liked it. The next book I finally got to was the Grim and Horror book. Do you know, it's half 50-50. I have been putting this book off such a long time and I don't know why. I really enjoyed it. It was really nice seeing the aspects of like the monologuing of each of the men, because obviously in the Light Lack series you don't see that, you always get it from our main girl's point of view. One of the main things in Light Lack is, I've always said, I don't understand how Oro liked our main girl so much. I just didn't get it. I just don't understand it. There was no like love interest there. There was no background to why they loved each other, and now that I've read in this one I do understand it. They were constantly in each other's pockets and there was like a hate love relationship, but I understood it more, but it still didn't change my story. At the start of it I was like, actually am I an Oro gal? Then the story continued and I was just like, absolutely not. I am 100% a Grim gal and I stick with the story. It was so sweet. At first it wasn't like true, I mean it was true enemy to lovers, like there was knives and stabbing involved, but it was just like, I'm constant, like it was so cute. For example, I need to calm down. Everything's fine, I need to calm down. When she was in a fight and she got a little bit wounded and injured, so then they healed her and then she went to bed, he'd sit in the corner and watch her for the whole night to make sure that she was still constantly okay, and it was just that sweetness that, oh, I loved it. I rated it 4 stars and I said, Oro really was, I will burn you to save the world, and that's mad. I didn't like the way his brain worked in this book. I adored, he will literally burn the world to make sure you were okay. He was, I will hurt you, I will risk your life to save the world. And I think that just kind of shows the different characters so much. Again, I don't understand why I put this off so long, so if you're doing the same thing, please don't. Please read this. It was worth it. I enjoyed it. Yes, you're repeating the story plot, but it was just different aspects, and overall really bloody good. Oh, sorry my camera died. I'm hoping I've left it charged a little bit. I'm hoping this is enough for us to get through this video. We shall see, we shall see. So this book doesn't count on my Goodreads because technically I haven't read the book, but this is a 3-book series book, so there's 3 books within this book, but I'm not counting it as a separate book because obviously I don't own the separate books. I only own one of them, which is a little bit difficult for my brain to comprehend. But I have read the first book in the A God of Wrath and Lies. I don't actually know what the first one's called. Should we find out? So it's just called Book 1 of A God of Wrath and Lies. It's the Pine Hollow series, and this one is Kaya Morinova, and I have liked her books for a while. You guys know, like, that is her shelf. It was a shelf dedicated to her, but I now have Alchemized on there with a couple of books, which I love. Alchemized, I love is like not the probably correct word to use, but I now have a new tattoo of Alchemized, so it's got a place in my heart. I digress. So her books are a little bit twisted, to say the least, and sometimes I love said twistedness, sometimes I don't really like said twistedness. This one, I don't know how I feel about it. So it wasn't a book where I was a little bit like, I feel like it could have been bigger. I feel like I could have actually sat down and read it all. It is dark. It's not as dark as the rest of ones, but it is dark and it is twisted. There's betrayals in there. It's just a little bit like you're reading it and you're just a bit uncomfortable. Like if someone treated you like that. Absolutely not. It's about a girl who lives in the normal world. She's mundane like you and me, and then when you die you go into this other world, but there's gods, there's demons, there's different type of creatures in there. You're no longer human, like you mutate into like a fantasy version of you. You can tell it's you still have very similar features, but like for example you'll be green with like horns and like a fluffy tail, or you'll have wings, or your ears will then be droopy like cow like ears. It's just, you look same but also different. Our main girl, she goes into this world and there is a dude who I don't really want to tell you too much information because it'll ruin the plot, because it's nice going in but like, what's going on here? There's a dude who helps her out, then there's another dude who also helps her out who has black wings, and I don't really know what to say about ruining it. Our main girl had a dog when she was human, when she was alive should I say, and the dog died, and now that she's gone into this like separate world, this death world. Your dogs, your pets get reincarnated as a different kind of version as a dog. It kind of like is like a wolfhound, where they're massive dog creatures, kind of a mixture between dogs and horses, where you can ride them like big beasts. And the whole journey of like the first book, one of the subplots is where they're trying to find her dog, her creature, because it's technically her dog Summit, and she goes through all these challenges of other people she meets. She has like dual love interests. I am 100%, I know which one I like, but at the end of it I feel like my decision then changed. There's a betrayal. It's a brutal plot. There's just so much going on. She has a lot of action where she doesn't want to do something, but she's like dragged away and she's forced to do something like she cannot escape. Like she has a cholera at some point. It's very like uncomfortable to read, but I didn't want to put it down. I felt like at the end of it all, it could have been longer, it could have been more depth, it could have just been a bit more. It just wasn't given enough. That's why I didn't really rate it highly, but again, I couldn't really rate it on Goodreads because obviously I haven't technically finished a book. But I think if I did rate this one, I probably would rate it maybe a 3-star. It just wasn't given, and I needed more. I didn't feel full when I finished this book. But that being said, I am going to still continue this, and I am excited to see where it's going to go, because I feel like now with how it ended there's a lot for it to go through. But this was on my TBR, and I'm glad I was able to read at least the first book, and then I'll read the rest at some point in my life. I don't know when. Just at some point. The next book I read was Her Hidden Fire, which I really enjoyed. This was like a spontaneous read. I needed to read it. I needed to read a book, so I just chose this one, and I'm so glad I read this one. So on Goodreads it only has a 3.87 rating, and I potentially was thinking, should I rate this a 5-star? Like, I had such a good time, but it just didn't fully give the 5-star things, because there was certain things that I was like, I'm not really happy with that. The one thing that I also couldn't really like, I didn't like, was the pronunciation of the names. So this is how to pronounce the names, and I kept forgetting. So the main girl is Aya, which I could remember that one because Aya, simple. And then the main dude, well, one of the main dudes, is Yun-Oren, is how you spell his name. And every time I saw that, I just called him Owen. And there was others, obviously there's a lot more names, and I feel like I couldn't really get into story plot because I couldn't pronounce the names. And I know I am British, this is not where I am from, so these names are a little bit strange to me, and I just didn't have the tongue pronunciation to pronounce these names, which really bothered me. So that's why I didn't rate it a 5-star. That was the only reason. But the story plot itself was really good. I had such a good time. It was like when you are born having certain power, and you either have power or you don't. But when you don't, you just mundane, you're normal, you don't have any like special treatment. But when you do have power, there's two types of powers. There's the channelers, which they're like, oh my god, if you have channeling powers, you are the best of the best. You have gold, you have literally people like slaving around you, you have everything to your will at your fingertips because you are the most powerful. Then you have the keepers. So the keepers are the ones where they help you get the power. The channelers are the ones that channel the power through them, and then they do the massive things. They fight the dragons, they do all of literally everything you need to do. Our main girl, she goes into this academy being a keeper, and her love interest, that Owen dude, he's a channeler, and she has to go through all of these difficulties. And the main thing is, and this is also something in this book right at the start, is she has power. So she comes to her power before she has this big meeting, and this big meeting is when your power gets drawn out. So technically you shouldn't have your power until the power's drawn out, but she unintentionally drew out her own power weeks before she had this meeting with the High Lord. So that's one thing that makes her stand out, because no one else really does it, like it's very rare. The second one is she has the channeler's power, right? She is the powerful of the powerful, but she comes from a nobody family, so that is also more extra difficulties because she has no one to back her up, because normally you have like a High Lord and you have, I don't know, like the Queen or something to back you up because you're from that family, but she has no one. She is an orphan, she has nada, nobody. And then she decides to go through to hide her power, so she can still go to the academy but as a keeper. So she's basically the slave to the channelers, and it really wound me up. Like not everyone, most of the channelers were like, the power went to their head, so they demanded everything. They wanted everything from everyone because they're a channeler, so obviously they can get whatever they want. And they were doing it a lot to our girl, but obviously our girl was a hidden channeler, and it just really wound me. But I just wanted her to just like all these people, but she didn't, because she was obviously trying to hide her power. And I liked being annoyed. I liked being frustrated. It was just really nice to, I understand where she's coming from. I get it. I 100% understand it. And where this story plot ended, she basically told everyone who she is. Like, she's not hiding anything from anyone no more. If you want to come for it, good luck on that. And I'm very excited for the next one. And also, obviously, the edition is just beautiful. It was such a good read. I'm really glad I spontaneously read this. It's just the names. I think it's Irish. I am Irish. I am half Irish, but the last book I listened to was my first Freedom McFadden book, actually. I've never read any of her books, never listened to any of them, and there was a sale on Audible where you can get like buy one get one free. So I just thought, let's have a look. So there is one book that I'm currently listening to now which I'm really enjoying, and that's the book I purposely wanted to get, and then I needed like an additional book, so I then downloaded The Intruder by Freedom McFadden, and I rated it 3-star because I enjoyed it at times. I was like, oh, I'm so, like, the twist and everything, I was so intrigued. But then I rated it, I really don't know how I feel. Did I like this or dislike this? Because there were just so many parts that I was just like, I really don't like this, I'm bored. But then other parts was like, oh, I'm quite excited. It wasn't, it gave the spooky vibes, but it was also giving like, just slap her, sort her out, like, grow a spine, like, do this, do that. And it didn't do that, it really frustrated me. It goes through the past, the present, the past, the present, which I did like seeing, like the outcome of how these people, these individuals turned. It was like obviously abuse, it was abusive stories, to read the trigger warnings and that, which didn't really bother me because I like the darker side of reading. But it was just like how this woman let this child do whatever she wanted, and it's in her house and this child is a guest in this woman's house. That really wound me up because you are an adult. I know this child's gone through a lot, but at the same point she shouldn't really like point a gun to your face, you know. And then she was letting the girl sleep in a bed. There was a lot of things wrong with this story. I did enjoy it though. Basically, it's a woman who lives in a cabin in the woods. She wanted to escape everything that's happened in the past, and then there's a massive storm coming out, and she sees a flashlight in her shed before the massive storm occurs. So she obviously goes out into the little shed and was like, what's going on? And there's a girl covered in blood, really, really skinny, burns all over, like cigarette burns on her hand and stuff, and you could tell she's gone through a lot. So she invites her into a home, and that's where all of the creepiness and like everything comes in. It was rated, it's 3.88, which I do think is like very spot on for Goodreads to rate it like that, but I'm glad I read into it. I really liked her writing style, so I will continue Freedom McFadden's, but this one probably wasn't the best book to start on with, but it did creep me out a little bit. It just also really wound me up. So that's that. So they're the 11, technically 10 books, but 11 books because of that thick book series. That's 11 books I've read this month. These are the 7 books, physical books I read this month, and if we keep this up, I might eventually get through my physical TBR. Who's kidding? That's never going to happen. So I'm just going to get my books for April, and I'm really excited. I feel like I've actually sat down and I'm fully being like, what can I do to finish as many series and catch as many series and read new releases as possible? That's what I did this month, and I'm really happy about that. So let's just get the pile. Starting off with a spoiler that I've already said, I am going to read the next Throne of Glass book, Queen of Shadows, and I'm so excited. This one is a big book, 700 pages, just shy of. Yeah, just shy of 700 pages. I annotate these books as well, so I'm catching up, guys. I'm catching up finally. So I've got to read this series, then I have to read the ACOTAR series, and then I have to read, I don't know what this series is called, like the Crescent City series, and then I have to read all that before the next 2 ACOTAR books get released. One of them is like end of year, like November, and I think this year, and then I think the next one's like February next year. I've got to read all of those, and the Crescent City series books, they're like 900 plus pages. They're just so big, and I believe there's 3 of them perhaps. I've got nearly all these books other than the last 2. I own the first through 4 in the ACOTAR series, and I own none of Crescent City, so eventually I'm getting there. It's just, I collect these in the old editions, so you know the spines are all grey and the newer editions are all colourful, and then the newest editions are blacked out, like black sprayed edges and things, and it's just really difficult trying to find the editions that I need. So like I'm constantly hunting down. I found this on Vinted and it's unused, unread, perfect condition. So well happy with that. So that's the first book. So super excited, super excited. To keep on the same vibe, because my aim this year is to read a lot more books that are like 500 pages and plus, because last year and the year before that, and I do believe probably the year before that and probably the year before that, I read a lot of books that's like 200 pages, and I don't know if that's because I would like to up my numbers or anything, or I read a lot of books like 300 and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to read more bigger and chunkier books. So that's why this is another big book, and I've had this for years. This one is, again, just shy of 700 pages, and I've had Saint Death's Daughter on my TBR for a couple of years now, probably like 2 or 3 years. I have no idea what it's about. No idea. All I know is, and I remember buying this, it mentioned something about necromancy. Is it the parent? So Leanne Stone, the daughter of crown-appointed killers, was born with a gift for necromancy, and that's all I'm going to read about it. And I do remember the fact that when I bought it, necromancy, oh, that sounds interesting. Did I read the full synopsis when I purchased this book back year when? No, I didn't. And it's probably going to stay that way. And I don't know, I'm kind of fancying books where you get submerged in, and I have no idea what the Goodreads rating is about, and I'm not going to look, because I hopefully I will be pleasantly surprised. So that's book number 2, which again, thick books, should be thick. Third book is Crown Tide. This is the last book in the Light series. I don't know if it's the last book ever. Personally, I feel like 2 books ago she probably should have finished the series. I didn't feel like she needed to continue, and where the last book ended, I don't know how this is going to continue, but I'm quite intrigued. I've heard that Grim and Oro, the 2 main male characters, kind of like, not a friend, but they work together a little bit, and you need to read the Grim and Oro book before you move on to this book, because it kind of like helps you understand their relationship before their relationship develops in this book. That's all I know, and that is what I would like to go into. But I do believe this finishes the series, and it's not a big book, and I love Light Lark, and I can eat this story up. I love it so much, so I'm really intrigued to read this one. And again, it's 1 book and then I finished a series. Why is it taking me this long to read 1 book? The next book that I am reading is The Good Girl Bad Blood, which is The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I believe this is the 3rd book. So there's Joy Kill, there's The Good Guide to Murder, there's this one, there's 1 more, and then there's 5 Survived, I think it is. So this is the 3rd book in the series, and well, I don't know if Killjoy is like a 0.1, so technically this would be like the 2nd book in the series, but I've got all the special editions, so to me it's the 3rd book. Know what it's about, because it's like a whodunit. I like to, again, completely going blind. I want no research done prior to this. A Good Guide to Murder, the book I read previously, it was a bit slow, like I was having to force myself to read it a little bit, but once you got like in the story plot, you were like constantly trying to figure out who done it. It might be you, and then like a twist, and you'd be like, oh no, I think it's you. And then in the last book there was like twist upon story twist at the end, so like it was literally just like you were being slapped multiple times because you just don't know where the story plot was going to go. That's why I'm hoping this keeps up. I think it's the same people. I don't know whose death they're investigating now, because the death in their little town was investigated in the 1st book, and they found who done it, they found out why they done it and everything in the previous book. So this one, I have no idea if it's going to be like another cold case, or if it's going to be another murder. I have not a clue. So I'm really intrigued to go into this one, because again, we'll continue this series. I'm trying to get as many series completed as possible, because I have so many unread series, and I don't want to start anymore until I've finished them. It's a whole headache at this point, guys, a whole headache. And the last book, unfortunately, I've chosen, obviously I'm going to read more than 5 books this month, but the last book I've chosen to read is Weave and Shot, and I don't have the Thoroughly Addict subscription, but as soon as I saw this, I was like, give me, absolutely give me right now, right this for a second. And all I know about this book is that the main female character can see dead people, and I don't know if she can speak to dead people, but she can see them. Do you need to tell me more? No, you don't. It is a beautiful edition. Like, oh my god, it's absolutely gorgeous. The edges are just phenomenal. They are beautiful. The book itself is just wonderful. I haven't even showed you the best part yet. Like, calm down. So then when you take the dust cover off, the book itself's alright. Like, I'm not like mind blown with it, but it's a decent book anyway, as it is. But then it's the inside pages, and preferably the next one. So this one's decent, this one's alright. Again, it's beautiful, it's like very academic, dark fantasy, but this one is what sold me on this book. I don't know, it's just the all masks, it's all like a very bougie event, it's just, I don't know, like she's wearing a skull mask, he's wearing like a dragon mask, it just, everything about it I'm here for, I'm wanting, I'm hoping this is a 5-star read. I really am hoping it. I've got really high expectations for this one. All I know about this book is on Goodreads it's a 4.3 star rating, which is like ridiculously high out of 5, so potentially this could be the next 5-star read. These are the books I've chosen for myself for this month, and I just love how many pages that is to read. It's just so many pages. I'm hoping I can get to read all these, because the past couple of months when I've done like a TBR, I haven't been able to read all the books in the TBR. Like, I mean, I have had time and I've been able to, but I've just decided against it. But I'm hoping these call for me. They're just like, my, read me. That is what I'm hoping happens in a really spooky voice, but that's the plan. So you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye guys.